Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever looked at someone wildly successful and thought, how did they get there? Or maybe more personally, have you ever looked in the mirror and quietly wondered, why am I not further along by now? It's not because we lack ambition. It's because somewhere along the way, we got caught in the rhythm of reacting instead of intentionally building. See, most people think the next 10 years will be shaped by what happens to them. But the truth is, our next 10 years are shaped by how we choose to respond today. And that's what we're here for. Because fixing your next 10 years isn't about having all the answers. It's about starting with the right questions. It's about clarity, consistency, and most importantly, purpose. So tonight, we're not just going to talk about goals. We're going to talk about direction. We're not going to chase time. We're going to invest it. Let's begin. When we talk about fixing the next 10 years of our lives, most people immediately think about setting goals, buying a house, getting promoted, launching a business, starting a family, saving a certain amount of money. But before you make another list of what you want to do, I want you to pause and ask a far more powerful question. Why? Why do you want those things? Why do you get out of bed every morning? Why does any of it matter to you? It's easy to confuse goals with direction. But direction doesn't come from what we want to achieve. It comes from who we are and what we believe. That's the essence of start with why. If your next 10 years are going to be meaningful, fulfilling, and resilient, they cannot be built on what you think you should do. They have to be built on something deeper. They have to be rooted in your purpose. Purpose isn't something you invent. It's something you uncover. It's already in you. It's in the moments that made you feel alive, in the struggles that shaped you, in the causes that stir your heart, and in the people who make you feel seen. To find your why, you must look inward, not outward. You must stop asking, what should I do next? And start asking, what story am I trying to tell with my life? Every person has a why, a reason they exist that goes beyond status, income, or recognition. For some, it's to help others grow. For others, it's to bring beauty into the world. Some people are wired to solve problems, others to protect, to teach, to inspire, to lead. Your why doesn't have to be grand. It just has to be true. And once you know your why, everything changes. Because the moment you have clarity of purpose, decision-making becomes easier. You stop chasing what looks good on paper and start pursuing what feels right in your bones. You say yes with conviction. You say no without guilt. You build your life like an architect with a blueprint, not like someone wandering through a maze. This isn't just a feel-good idea. It's practical. Let's say two people want to start a business. One does it because it seems like a good way to make money. The other does it because they believe deeply in empowering others to realize their potential. When hard times hit, and they will, the first person burns out while the second person digs deeper. Why? Because money is a weak fuel. But purpose is high octane. Purpose gives you stamina. When the excitement fades, purpose keeps you going. When others question you, purpose reminds you why you started. When you fail, and you will, purpose gives meaning to the struggle. And there's another true thing. Your why is not just for you. It's for others. The most impactful people don't just live their purpose. They use it to serve. People don't follow you because of what you do. They follow you because of why you do it. That's why purpose is magnetic. It draws the right people into your life. People who believe what you believe. People who will walk with you, build with you, and stay when things get hard. So before you fix your next 10 years, ask yourself the hard questions. Not what do I want, but what matters most? Not how can I succeed, but who do I want to become? Because your next 10 years are not a checklist. They are a legacy in the making. When you start with why, you stop drifting, you stop settling, you stop living someone else's version of success. Instead, you start to build something that feels right, something that lasts, something that makes you proud, not just in 10 years, but every day between now and then. So dig, reflect, be honest. The best 10 years of your life won't start with a plan. They'll start with a purpose. Everything else will follow. When we think about changing our lives, fixing the next 10 years, we often believe it has to be complicated. We tell ourselves we need intricate strategies, long-term plans, multiple spreadsheets, and daily hustle routines. But the truth is, the people who achieve meaningful, lasting success aren't the ones with the most complex system. They're the ones who have clarity, and clarity more often than not comes from simplicity. We live in a world obsessed with doing more goals, more habits, more commitments. We celebrate business like it's a badge of honor. But the danger of complexity is that it creates confusion, and confusion leads to inaction. When things feel overwhelming, we procrastinate, we second-guess ourselves, we get stuck not because we lack motivation, but because we lack focus. Think about a lighthouse. A lighthouse doesn't spin in circles or change colors every few seconds. It shines one clear, steady light. And yet, that one simple beam is powerful enough to guide entire ships safely to shore. That's the power of clarity. It doesn't need to be loud or flashy. It just needs to be true. When you simplify, you create space to focus on what really matters. You begin to distinguish between what is urgent and what is important. You stop reacting to everything and start responding to the few things that actually move the needle. Clarity gives you the courage to ignore distractions because you know where you're headed. This doesn't mean life becomes easy, but it becomes clear. There's a difference. Clear doesn't mean without struggle. It means without confusion. It means you know why you're waking up in the morning, what you're trying to build, and how today's actions fit into that bigger picture. Simplicity isn't laziness, it's discipline. It takes discipline to say, no, I'm not going to do 10 things. I'm going to do one thing well. It takes strength to walk away from complexity when the world tries to sell you more. We've been conditioned to think that more effort equals more results, but very often the opposite is true. The people who rise above are not the ones doing the most. They're the ones doing the right things consistently. Take a moment to think about the most important parts of your life, your health, your relationships, your career, your sense of purpose. These aren't areas that thrive under chaos. They grow under clear, steady attention. You don't fix your health with 10 supplements, 5 workout plans, and endless diets. You fix it by eating real food, sleeping well, and moving regularly. You don't build deep relationships through thousands of texts. You do it with presence, honesty, and time. Simplicity isn't just effective, it's human. And let's be honest, complexity is often a way to hide. We overcomplicate because we're afraid. If we keep adding layers, if we keep making plans, we don't have to take action. We don't have to risk failure, but clarity forces you to move. When your next step is simple and visible, there's no excuse left. You either do it or you don't. Clarity brings accountability. And that's uncomfortable, but it's also where growth begins. Over the next 10 years, life will present you with noise. Opportunities, opinions, distractions, comparisons. People will try to pull you in a dozen directions. Your job is to return to simplicity again and again. What matters? What's the one thing I need to focus on today? That question alone can cut through years of overthinking. The most successful companies, leaders, to reconnect. And individuals don't thrive because they do everything. They thrive because they stand for something. Apple didn't become Apple by trying to be everything to everyone. They became great by being obsessively clear, simplicity, elegance, innovation. And they said no to everything that didn't fit that clarity. You can do the same in your life. You don't need 100 resolutions or 50 milestones. You need a clear why, and then a simple path that supports it. One that you can actually live with, one that fits who you are, not who the world expects you to be. So if you want to fix your next 10 years, don't complicate your life trying to impress people who don't matter. Don't bury your clarity under productivity. Instead, strip it down, find the truth, find the essential, and then move with quiet confidence in that direction. Because in the end, a life well lived isn't made of complexity. It's made of clarity, followed consistently. We often admire people who make dramatic transformations. Someone who loses 50 pounds in a few months, someone who builds a business seemingly overnight, someone who suddenly shifts from burnout to brilliance. These stories inspire us because they're intense. They're impressive, but what we rarely talk about is what happens after the story. Most of the time, the intensity fades. The weight comes back, the business flashes. The motivation disappears. That's because intensity is powerful, but it's not sustainable. What truly transforms lives over the long term isn't intensity. It's consistency. Consistency isn't glamorous. It doesn't go viral. No one writes headlines about someone who woke up at 6 a.m. again today, or someone who chose a salad over fast food again today, or someone who wrote 200 words every morning for a year. But those are the people you should be watching, because while others are burning out in bursts, these people are building something real, brick by brick, day by day. We've been taught to look for quick wins. We want the shortcut, the hack, the one bold move that changes everything. But the truth is, there is no hack for 10 good years. You can't fake direction. You can't compress integrity. You can't replace commitment with intensity. What you build with urgency often collapses under pressure. What you build with consistency becomes unshakable. Think about a tree. It doesn't shoot up overnight. It grows slowly, steadily, rooting itself deeper even when there's no visible progress above ground. And then one day, it stands strong enough to weather any storm. You are the same. The work you put in today may not show results immediately. But if it's repeated with discipline, it compounds, it multiplies, and eventually it becomes unstoppable. Consistency is not about being perfect. It's about being present. It's not about never missing a day. It's about always coming back. There will be setbacks. There will be days when you don't feel like it, When life gets in the way, when progress feels invisible, those days are not failures, they are tests, and your ability to return, to show up again, is what separates those who last from those who quit. Intensity asks, how much can I do right now? Consistency asks, what can I still be doing 10 years from now? The gym goer who works out 6 hours once a month doesn't see change. But the one who works out 30 minutes a day, they change everything. The writer who waits for inspiration might write one great paragraph in 6 months. The writer who puts in 20 minutes a day builds a library. The parent who waits for perfect bonding moments might them entirely. But the parent who shows up every day, even in small ways, builds lifelong trust. This applies to every part of your life: your health, your career, your mindset, your relationships. The habits you build in the next 10 years will not be defined by how big your first step is. They'll be defined by whether you kept stepping. One of the reasons people fail to stay consistent is because they set the bar too high from the start. They try to do everything at once. Run 5 miles a day when they haven't walked in years. Meditate for an hour when they've never sat still. Work 16 hours a day on their new business and wonder why they burn out. It's not that they're weak. It's that they're chasing intensity instead of designing consistency. A better approach: start smaller than you think you need to. So small, it almost feels silly. Want to journal every day? Start with 1 sentence. Want to get fit? Start with 10 minutes of walking. Want to build a brand? Create 1 post a week. Make it so easy you can't fail. Then repeat. Over time, momentum will do what motivation never could. The secret to a better life, your next 10 years included, is not in doing more today. It's in doing enough today to be able to do it again tomorrow. That's how greatness is built. Not in intensity, but in rhythm. So ask yourself, what can I do today that I'll still be able to do a year from now? What action can I take that aligns with my purpose and is small enough to repeat without burning out? That's the beginning of transformation. Your next decade isn't waiting for a dramatic breakthrough. It's waiting for you to commit, not once, but again and again. Because when you stack consistency, time becomes your ally. And over 10 years, even the smallest daily actions will rewrite the story of your life. Most people believe that if they just had more discipline, they could change their lives. If they just worked harder, stayed more focused, pushed through more often, they'd finally get ahead. But what we often ignore is how much our environment, the people, the spaces, the systems around us, influences what we do or don't do. You can have the clearest goals and the strongest intentions, but if you're in the wrong environment, progress becomes a constant uphill battle. People underestimate the power of their surroundings. They think mindset alone will carry them. But imagine trying to write a book in the middle of a loud construction site. Imagine trying to lose weight while living in a house stocked with junk food. Imagine trying to build confidence while spending time with people who constantly doubt you, dismiss you, or compete with you. Even the strongest can be worn down by the wrong atmosphere. Your environment is the invisible hand that either lifts you or holds you back. The good news is, unlike your past, you can choose your environment, and that one decision can make all the difference in the next 10 years of your life. Let's start with people. Who you surround yourself with matters more than you realize. You don't rise to your goals. You fall to the standards of your circle. If the people around you are complacent, cynical, or constantly distracted, you'll unconsciously begin to normalize that behavior. But if you spend time with people who are focused, driven, generous, and growth-minded, you start to mirror their mindset. This isn't about cutting people off coldly. It's about becoming conscious. You don't need to eliminate everyone who isn't like you. You just need to be intentional about who you give your time, energy, and trust to. Some people are drains. Others are chargers. Learn to tell the difference. Look for people who believe in you before the results show. People who challenge you without trying to change you. People who remind of your vision when you temporarily forget it. Your next 10 years will rise or fall on the strength of these relationships. Then there's your physical environment. Is your space designed for progress or distraction? Are your tools visible and ready, or hidden and hard to access? If you want to work out in the morning, set your clothes out the night before. If you want to read more, put a book on your pillow. If you want to eat healthier, prep your meals ahead of time. It's not about willpower. It's about removing friction. We don't just behave in response to desire. We behave in response to design. Create an environment that nudges you toward your better self, even when you're tired, stressed, or uninspired. And finally, your systems. Many people rely on motivation to act, but motivation is unreliable. Systems are stable. Systems are simply routines, tools, or rhythms that reduce decision fatigue and automate your priorities. They protect your progress from chaos. If you write your goals but don't review them, they fade. If you plan your day but don't structure your time, distractions win. But with systems, whether that's a morning routine, a weekly check-in, or a habit tracker, you stay anchored to what matters. You stay grounded even when life gets messy. And life will get messy. You'll have bad days, stressful weeks, unexpected obstacles. That's why a strong environment matters so much. Because you're not building for a perfect season, you're building for sustainability. The next 10 years of your life are not just about who you are. They're about where you are, who you're with, and what you're surrounded by. You're not weak for struggling in the wrong environment. You're human, and humans thrive best when they're supported by healthy ecosystems. So take inventory. Who around you is helping you grow? Who is keeping you small? What spaces are lifting your energy and which are draining it? What systems are serving you and which ones are slowing you down? You don't need to fix everything overnight. Just start by making one environment-based decision today. Move a desk, leave a group chat, join a better one, clean up a space. Ask for support. Design your day instead of reacting to it. Because if you want to fix your next 10 years, don't just fix your mindset, fix your surroundings. A great vision, placed in a great environment, becomes a great life. We live in a world that celebrates saying yes. Say yes to opportunity, say yes to new experiences, say yes to growth, to hustle, to every chance to prove yourself. But somewhere along the way, we forgot that saying yes to everything isn't ambition, it's distraction. Growth isn't just about what you choose to do. It's just as much, if not more, about what you choose not to do. Saying no isn't about being closed-minded, it's about being clear. It's about protecting your focus, your energy, your time, and ultimately your purpose. If the next 10 years of your life are going to be meaningful, intentional, and transformational, you'll need to become fluent in the word no. Most people are overcommitted, not because they don't care, but because they care about too many things at once. They stretch themselves then trying to be everything for everyone, and in the process they lose touch with what matters most. They say yes out of guilt, fear of missing out, or the desire to please. But every yes that doesn't align with your purpose is really a no to something else. Your health, your values, your vision. The most successful people, the most grounded leaders, the most fulfilled individuals are not ones who say yes to everything. They're the ones who say no with courage and consistency. They understand that every choice carries a cost. Every commitment takes up space. Every agreement becomes a piece of your future. You can't shape the life you want if you're constantly reacting to the life others want from you. Saying no doesn't mean you lack ambition. It means you've clarified your ambition. It means you've defined your non-negotiables and are no longer willing to trade your direction for temporary approval. Saying no isn't rejection. It's protection. It's creating a boundary between you've been and who you're becoming. We tend to assume that opportunities are always good. But not every opportunity is meant for you. Some are distractions dressed as potential. Some will take you off course subtly, slowly, in ways you won't notice until you wake up years later wondering how you ended up so far from where you meant to go. The ability to say no isn't just a skill. It's a filter. It's how you separate the noise from the signal. Think of your attention as a spotlight. Wherever you shine it, things grow. But if you shine it everywhere, nothing thrives. You can't build a powerful next decade if your spotlight is constantly shifting from one thing to the next. You need to protect it. Aim it, narrow it, and that means saying no, often and with intention. Of course, this isn't easy. Saying no can be uncomfortable. It might disappoint people. It might lead to judgment. But here's the hard truth. If you're not willing to be temporarily misunderstood, you will never be deeply respected. Boundaries might frustrate others at first, but over time, they teach people how to treat you, and more importantly, how you treat your own values. Start small. Say no to the meetings that have no agenda. Say no to the obligations that no longer align. Say no to the habits that drain you. Say no to the scrolling, the mindless comparison, the mental clutter. Not with resentment, but with clarity. Not with arrogance, but with resolve. Every time you say no to something that doesn't serve your future, you create space for something that does. You create room to say yes with your whole heart to the people, the work, the ideas, and the practices that align with your why. This is not just about time management. It's about identity. Every no reinforces who you are and who you're becoming. The next 10 years won't be shaped by how fast you move. They'll be shaped by how focused you remain. And focus requires choice, discipline, boundaries. So ask yourself, what am I saying yes to out of fear, not alignment? That if I've been tolerating that no longer fits the story I want to write, what do I need to refuse? Not because it's bad, but because it's not mine to carry. When you look back 10 years from now, you won't remember all the things you walked away from. You'll remember what you made space for because of it. Your future depends more on what you refuse than what you accept. So choose carefully. Say no boldly, and grow with intention. We often rush to fix our lives with plans. We look for better tools, smarter tactics, faster strategies. We build lists, set goals, download productivity apps, and fill notebooks with step-by-step formulas. But strategy, no matter how precise, is only as strong as the person using it. The truth is, most people don't fail because their strategy was wrong. They fail because they were trying to force the right strategy through the wrong identity. Before you ask what you want to do, ask who you want to become. That shift changes everything. Because when you operate from identity, actions follow naturally. You don't have to force discipline if you see yourself as a disciplined person. You don't have to fight to show up if you believe that showing up is what someone like you does. Strategy is how you get somewhere. Identity is why you keep going even when it's hard. Think about it, anyone can follow a diet for a few weeks. But the person who sees themselves as the kind of person who takes care of their body eats well long after the diet ends. Anyone can stick to a budget for a month. But the person who believes they are someone who respects their future more than their impulses handles money differently forever. It's not just behavior, it's self-image. The problem is, most of us try to fix our results without fixing our foundation. We try to act like a high performer without addressing the beliefs we carry. We say things like, I'm just not organized, or I'm bad with money, or I've never been consistent, and then wonder why we sabotage ourselves even when we know what to do. You can't outrun your identity. If deep down you believe you're not worthy of success, you'll find ways to avoid it. If you believe you're not capable of change, you'll keep proving yourself, right? That's why real transformation isn't just external, it's internal. It's not about doing more. It's about becoming more aligned with the version of yourself you were meant to be. So how do you do that? You start small. Identity is not something you wait to discover. It's something you practice into existence. You become who you are by doing things that reinforce the story you want to live. If you want to become someone who writes, write, even if it's just a paragraph. If you want to become someone who leads, start leading, even if it's just yourself. If you want to become someone who lies with purpose, make one small decision each day that reflects your values. Every time you take action that aligns with the identity you want to grow into, you cast a vote for that version of yourself. Eventually, the evidence becomes impossible to ignore. This isn't about faking it. It's about reinforcing what's already possible. The moment you begin to behave like the person you aspire to be, you shift the frame from, I'm trying to, I am becoming. And that shift is where confidence is born. This also means letting go of old labels. We carry stories about ourselves that were given to us by other people, stories we never asked for but have carried like truth. Stories that say we're not smart, not creative, not leaders, not disciplined. But none of those stories are fixed. Identity is not a prison, it's a mirror. And the mirror can be changed when we change the image we hold of ourselves. So stop asking, what should I do next? And start asking, what would the person I want to become do right now? That question bypasses confusion. It brings integrity to your decisions. It creates alignment between your daily habits and your long-term goals. This is what it means to lead yourself. Not to chase outcomes, but to embody principles. Not to copy someone else's blueprint, but to craft your own based on the identity you're stepping into. Because here's the truth, if you don't believe in who you are becoming, no strategy will ever be enough. But if you anchor yourself in identity first, the strategy becomes almost secondary. The right actions start showing up because they fit. The right habits stick because they make sense. And the right opportunities find you, not because of luck, but because of alignment. So if you want to fix your next 10 years, don't just build a plan, build a person. Build the version of yourself that doesn't just chase better outcomes, but creates them naturally, consistently, and with purpose.